what happened before the Arua Municipality MP by-elections until today is a lawyer, Julius Galisonga. Good evening. Welcome to Newsnight.
Thank you.
And I think I was trying to understand a few things, but we'll start with what, of course, pains us in our line of duty the most, the attack on journalists. Because if I'm in the line of duty, just like the person, you know, for the police, anyone in security, even if I was a civilian, say, and someone was saying that if I put my hands up, it's a sign of surrendering, right? Just talk to us about the circumstances there. What rights do I have after? What can be done and cannot be done?
Under the Constitution, a person has the right to practice his trade. That is an economic right. So that's why you see such things as protection of lawyers when they're in court, protection of doctors in the exercise of their work. You cannot compel a doctor, for example, to reveal information. Even journalists have a right to enjoy and to practice their trade. So in the line of their duty, they need to be afforded as much help as possible, provided they are not interfering. Of course, that is now debatable.
Yes, let's debate that, because if gunshots are this way, and that means that's content, that's information to the public, and I'm going that way, and the police or army, whoever is arguing that I'm obstructing their work.
Yes. The whole idea, and as you've seen, the UPDF has come out to condemn attacks on the journalists, which in itself suggests that they also understand that it was wrong.
It's not the first time this is happening.
Certainly it is unfortunate that it happens over and over, but that tells you a lot about the way security forces conduct their business. But in all, a journalist has the protection of the Constitution to practice the trade that is of journalism.
Okay,
yes.
So let's talk about victims of torture. We just ran a story where you could see women not able to stand. We've seen, you know, men go to court with wounds, you know. And I was asking you whether it's, if I'm a suspect, I'm supposed to come to court today, and up until that time, the court is not aware of the torture, and I come to court still, and now I'm a victim of torture. You can't cancel the session that day.
The only case when the court session will be cancelled is if you cannot understand the proceedings of court, in which case because you're supposed to take plea, but you must understand the plea you're taking, the charges that are being read to you. That's why if you don't understand English, they have to get a person to interpret for you. Now, if you can't understand English and they don't have an interpreter, then they have to adjourn to enable you, to enable process the means for you to understand the proceedings. So now, if for example you're so badly beaten that you cannot understand, that you cannot comprehend the proceedings, then court will cancel the proceedings.
If I can, because I'm assuming understanding is I can hear you, I understand the language you're speaking, but I'm in so much, because you could see the people were in so much pain, they could barely stand, barely concentrate. Is that also part of, I can't understand what's going on?
You know, the question of human rights, as you may be aware, goes to those things that define us as human beings.
Yes.
Now, what defines you as a human being is the capacity to understand, to empathize, the capacity to appreciate that that person is in pain, the capacity to appreciate that this kind of person cannot be in a position to do X, Y, Z. So now, as that now comes back to the individual judicial officer, who must then determine if actually the proceedings, because they say justice should not just be done, but it should be seen to be done.
Yes.
Now, if a person is under such great pain, and then you proceed to try and even charge, the question is, if a bystander who is observing you is asked a question, what do you make of those proceedings? Would he say, I've seen justice being done? No. Yes. Okay, so
as we wind up a short of time, I want you to help us clear that whole civilians being tried in a court-martial.
The UPDF Act under Section 118H provides that persons who are in unlawful possession of military stores, military arms, let me say arms, or those things that are normally associated with the military.
So the attack as well would be part of this?
No.
Guns?
Yes, guns, uniform. Let me say they get you with those pips. Those are military stores. Then you're subject to military law. That is why you find that some people were, in this case, were being tried in the Chief Magistrate's court. Others in the, like Bobby Wine was being tried in the military court.
Okay.
Yes.
And where is there a loophole? Because we've seen some go through it and probably walked away. I'm wondering, because what is the maximum you can get sentence for that?
At the end of the day, it comes back to, like, you know, UPDF, though it conducts its business, the military court, it all comes back to the discretion and the desires of the person in charge. But more importantly, it is something that is always coming up against political opponents. That's why the zeal is there, zeal to prosecute. Then along the way there is reconciliation. That can determine how far the case can go.
Right, thank you so much, Julius Galisonga. That's it for Newsnight.
You're welcome.
This is an important